Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to Geeks Watch. Today I want to talk about Sandman Season 2 on Netflix, an image of which you will see here. um, Minor spoilers, um, as usual. This is just my rambling review. So, Sandman Season 2 covers a number of story arcs in the comic books. I know Season 1 did that as well, but I think I think this does more. Covers more separate story arcs, though they do kind of feed into one another. You know, the first couple episodes are a single story arc, and then the next couple episodes are another story arc, and then another story arc. So they're all connected, but they're almost vignettes of the within the season. If I'm using that term correctly, I don't know. So little spoilers in that the season starts with basically the Fates come to see Destiny, which is another one of the Endless, and we do get to meet all the Endless finally in this season. I think previous season 1 we met Dream, Death, Desire, and Despair. This season we meet the other siblings in the family: Destiny, Delirium, and Destruction. So, as I said, the Fates meet Destiny in his garden, tell him to gather the family for a family dinner. Destiny then does so, and that kind of starts the events going. I didn't like that, because one, Destiny, as one of the Endless, is the Endless of Destiny. He has his book which details all of existence. He can know anything about anything at any time. The fact that the Fates came to him and told him to do this thing was, in a way, completely unnecessary. The other thing, too, is that the only thing this family gathering accomplished was that Desire irritated Dream. That's really all this was about. Did you have to have a family gathering for it? Now, from Destiny's point of view, things unfold as they are meant to, but this as it was meant to thing was entirely unnecessary. All that had to happen was that Desire had to say the right thing to Dream to annoy him, to get him, to prompt him to do what he did next. Little spoilers. From season 1, when Dream went to hell to speak with Lucifer, he encountered one of his former lovers who he had condemned to hell, who had been in hell for 10,000 years. What Dream says to irritate, what Desire says to irritate Dream is to remind him of this fact that his former lover has been condemned to hell for eternity because he did that. That was his doing, deliberately. So, Dream decides to correct his error and wants to confront Lucifer and rescue this woman from her torment, which is a noble thing to do. But, that little story resolves itself within like 3 episodes. And then there's another thing which kind of does follow through with that. It is connected. The next vignette is Delirium coming to see Dream about wanting to find the prodigal who was mentioned in season 1, the prodigal being the Endless Destruction, who actually abandoned his realm. He basically decided he didn't want to be Destruction anymore and left, and no one knows why. And he has told his family not to look for him. But Delirium wants to look for him anyway, even though it's been centuries. That resolves, which, leads to the next vignette. There is a major turning point in the second vignette that I don't want to discuss because I consider that an important spoiler. So I'm not going to mention that, which leads to the third vignette. So, there's all these things happen. of this season, I think I did enjoy season 1 more. I think season 2 kind of falls short a little bit, and in part because in the first couple of episodes, first 2 or 3 episodes, there's a lot of plot exposition going on, and it kind of dragged a bit. Now, the plot exposition was important. It was necessary backstory for us to learn about why things are being done and why things have been done. So the plot exposition was important and necessary, but I felt that it dragged on too long. It was just excessive. So I was just kind of like, the first couple episodes kind of bored me. I think 1 and 2 definitely. I think episode 3 as well. And there were other moments in the later episodes that I found kind of a bit long and dragging, but it was the first 2 or 3 episodes that really kind of, it took me a while to watch the entire 12 episodes of season 2 because the first 3 dragged a bit, and it didn't pick up until, for me at least, until episodes 4, 5, 6, and so on. There's 12 episodes in the season. So I didn't enjoy the season quite so much, or it took me, once the plot got moving, I was really invested, but it took a while for me to get invested. As with season 1, the penultimate episode, the climax and resolution was basically episodes 10 and 11. I found that Dream's behavior kind of flip-flopped a little bit. He was a bit inconsistent. But there was, the climax in episode 10 and then the resolution in episode 11. I really liked episode 11, the resolution. I thought it was really, really well done, and I really, really enjoyed that. Episode 10 with the climax was interesting, but I found the pacing and some of the things that were done, I found a bit discordant, I guess you would say. I don't think they meshed together very well. And then again, as with season 1, the final episode of the season was a spinoff. In season 1, you had The Dream of a Thousand Cats and Calliope, and the episode with Calliope, I don't recall the name of that episode. The final episode was called Death, the High Cost of Living. So the actual final episode of the season was a story about Dream's sister, Death. And as with the other spin-off series and spin-off stories, and indeed the season 1 episode with Death, the actress they got to portray her, I think, does an amazing job. She is different in personality than the personality that I got from the comics, even though I was not a huge fan of the comics and didn't read them a lot. It's a similar but slightly different personality, but I very much enjoy her. I think she does great at the job. I think she understood the part well, much as I think all the other characters did too. I mean, the actor to play Dream, perfect for the role. And he physically looked the part. They did a great job of that, and I think he did a good job portraying the character as well, for the most part. The issues that I mentioned, where I felt it was discordant, or jarring, however I phrased it. I blame that more on the writing than in directing, perhaps, than the actor's performance. Excuse me. But yeah, Death, the High Cost of Living. It's kind of similar to the story Death Takes a Holiday. From the comic books, the character, the Endless of Death, every once in a while takes a day off to live as a human being, just to see what it's like. So this is kind of, it's the story. The story isn't from her point of view. It's that someone encounters her on her day off, and Death just kind of drags this person along in her wake as she sets about trying to experience life to its fullest on her one day off. A very cute story, and I very much enjoyed it. So, and there were some, that was more whimsical. There were some very hard-hitting things earlier in the episodes. I'm bouncing back and forth here. Anywho, if you in conclusion, if you enjoyed season 1, I'm not good at this. If you enjoyed season 1, you will very much enjoy season 2. You know, even if you've never seen them either of them, I do highly recommend the series on Netflix. I do not believe there will be any others. I think season 1 and 2 basically completes the Morpheus King of Dreams story arc. And with the issues with Neil Gaiman, that took me a while to watch these too, because the allegations of you know, sexual abuse by Neil Gaiman, which I feel I have to address. So, in a very short, yeah, it took me a while to watch this. I wasn't sure if I would or not, but he's already been paid. I don't think my single watching of it will contribute to anything. Although perhaps me enthusiastically praising it might. So this is probably the last thing I will discuss regarding Neil Gaiman, in spite of the fact that I have several of his books. I won't review anything else by him. This is basically my last planned discussion regarding that author because of the allegations of sexual assault against him, which I believe are credible. So, having said that, as always, thanks for watching. As always, my stuff is crap. And until next time, good hunting.